We're going to be taking notes on equivalent fractions, and that TEK is 5.3H. So an equivalent fraction is just what it says, equa meaning equal fractions. So what does this mean? Okay, so for instance, 5 plus 3 is equivalent to 3 plus 5. Do we agree that that's the same thing, just put in reverse, but it equals the same amount, right? Okay, or 4 times 2 is equivalent to 4 plus 4. They're equal because they both represent 8. 4 times 2 is 8, 4 plus 4 is 8. So they're equal. Or this one is, and this is a different way of representing multiplication, 15 times 2 is equivalent to 3 times 10. So those both have the value of 30. So all of these are equal, they just look different. So they're equal in value but written differently. So this is the same thing for equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that have the same value but are written differently. And here's some examples. I have 1/2 here, and I have a model. I have it modeled 1/2. And then it's equal to 2/4. As you can see, it's the same amount shaded. We've just made more squares. So they're equivalent and represent, as you can see visually, the same amount. They just look a little bit differently. I've given another example here, 2/3. So I have 2/3 represented here, 2 shaded areas out of the 3. And that's equivalent to 6/8. All I did was go in and add more sections here. But as you can see, it's still equivalent to the same actual amount. So that's what equivalent fractions are. How do we find equivalent fractions? To find equivalent fractions, you can multiply or divide both numerator and denominator by the same number. Okay, remember, I'm always saying math is about balance. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So to create an equivalent fraction, 3/5 is in its simplest form right now. Remember prime and composite numbers? 3 is a prime, 5 is a prime. So to create an equivalent fraction for 3/5, we're going to have to make it bigger. So we're going to multiply the top times 2 and the bottom times 2. You have to multiply them by the same thing. And this creates an equivalent fraction of 6/10. Okay, there's page 2. So this was page 1 of your notes.